Everybody's talking about this time of year. In the little time we have been here this morning, I've heard 3 or 4 people mention this time of year. I was at a group meeting last week, and I said that fall is one of my favorite times of year because I feel sad and yet somehow fulfilled and happy in that sadness. And everybody else at the meeting said variations on that, but that's how it is. So for scripture this morning, I'm going to continue poetry's incursion into our sermon. And instead of something from the Bible or the Tao, I want to read to you a poem by John Keats. Everybody's heard of John Keats, had to read some John Keats in somewhere along the line. He was an English poet. John Keats died when he was 25. He died of tuberculosis. And yet he wrote half dozen to a dozen poems that are never going to go away. And this one is called To Autumn. There's 2 words you may not be familiar with, and it is going to say in the last stanza, croft, C-R-O-F-T. I could explain all about landowning systems in rural England to you because I had to study all this stuff. I'll just say a croft is a small farm, and we'll leave it at that. And then bourn, B-O-U-R-N. A bourn is a place. It can be a domain, but it means a place, and this is going to refer to mature lambs bleating on hilly bourn. Let's just say it's a rolling pasture over there. And the rest I will just make work as we go. Vocabulary has changed in the past 204 years since he died. And I wanted to read this poem because it's an ode, and so it personifies autumn, makes autumn into a human sort of presence. And autumn or fall is presented, I think, as, I imagine, a woman, but very happily high and very blissfully stoned. You can see. And it's it's a honey dripper poem. There's cider seeping. It is sticky, sweet, and sad a little bit, all at once. To autumn, season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run, little cottages, to bend with apples the mossed cottage trees and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core, to swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells with a sweet kernel, to set budding more and still more later flowers for the bees until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has o'erbrimmed, overflowing their clammy cells. Who has not seen thee often amid thy store? Sometimes whoever seeks abroad may find thee sitting careless on a granary floor of a threshing room where the seeds are kept, the kernels. Thy hair soft lifted by the winnowing wind, or on a half-reaped furrow, sound asleep, drowsed with the fume of poppies, while thy hook spares the next swath and all its twined flowers. And sometimes, like a gleaner, someone who has been out harvesting, sometimes like a gleaner, thou dost keep steady thy laden head. Got a basket on our head? And sometimes like a gleaner, thou dost keep steady thy laden head, crossing a brook, or by a cider press with patient look, thou watchest the last oozings hours by hours. Where are the songs of spring? Where are they? Think not of them. You have your music too, while barred clouds bloom the soft dying day and touch the stubble plains with a rosy hue. Then, in a wailful choir, the small gnats mourn among the river willows, borne aloft or sinking as the light wind lives or dies. And the full-grown lambs loud bleat from hilly bourne. Hedge crickets sing, and now, with treble soft, the redbreast robin whistles from a garden croft, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies. Please be seated. You know, we used to have a little notice on our order of worship about the weekly peace vigil every Monday at noontime. I think it said come hell or high water because we were often near a river. But we have a vigil beside Route 9 from noon till 12:30 every Monday. And this is, you know, we're in a sparsely populated area. There aren't many of us. We're on the only well-traveled road. And when you're standing there with your sign, one Sunday Monday, I was all alone. And man, do you suddenly feel like you've escaped from an asylum, or that's how you look to the people. What is with this guy? It's terrible that they've closed all the institutions. But we have been doing this since 2003. On March 20th, 2003, which was a Thursday, the United States invaded Iraq for, in my opinion, no good reason. And that next Monday, I said in church, we're going to have a vigil. And I was out there with one other person. And when I tell you who it was, you're not going to be surprised. Mary Hale. And it has continued. And we've decided to keep doing that until there is peace. So we better be training up some younger people. So this has been going on for 22 years, and I wanted to honor and just some of the people who've been doing this. I think so. What I've got is, you guessed it, another poem, and it's called Peace Keeps Us, or Peace Keeps Us. First day of spring at the weekly vigil in one small town. Route 9, Mondays at noon for 22 years. Roadside distractions. That's what we try to be, with our signs and our reaching arms, our waving hands. Look at me, look at me. Just a blossom in your breeze. Rough numbers of drivers. 10%, just glad to see some sign of life along the way, no matter what your sign says. 10% are just affronted, no matter what your sign says, by anyone rippling their consciousness. 50% want to see what your sign says and they'll respond to pet. And 30% will not look at you. 2 hands clench the wheel, 2 eyes clamp the road. The group most likely to encourage us, the relatively few black drivers. I think they just may be glad to see a few white folks who have figured out that something's wrong. Overall, in every weather, many waves, some honks. We get the finger, which we've decided is the partial peace sign. From someone only halfway evolved. There's still hope, brothers. We inherit exhaust. They never look back. All politics is eventually a body issue. Lungs, living waters, and dead seas. Over the years, I've gotten a glint of understanding. Take, eat. This is my body, or this is my blood, which is poured out for you. Our bodies will be taken by time. Our blood will be poured and pour and poorer. We're trying to make it be something. They never look back. Who has our back? Our neighbors in the town graveyard behind us. For that is our new home. But even here, God asks us the hardest thing. To hear God in another human being, in his anger abrading the tires on the downshift diesel stack soot, foot stuck to the floor in counter protest. And we're asked to see God in his fear, his shaken fist, the back of his receding head. Asked to feel God in our body, in the wave of laughter, in our resolve, in our weariness. It's a long, long road, and in our reward. Back at the beginning of this, the grapes were green there before the war, we heard, and too tender to touch. been dark since then and ready to shed. The leaves weren't yet green here before the war. Too tender. They have shed since 22 times. War goes on, and none of us is ready. The stars are burning to death, but it's freezing between us. The flags we wave are ragged and frayed, and the absent stars are holy. We gather when our patch on the earth turns again toward the sun. We gather because things are going on that are far from warm and far from growth and far from making us new or green. We gather because we know these truths and will hold them until they are evident. I can be beside my neighbor. And there is marriage and tragedy enough for everybody. And you are as long as a shadow at evening, unless you're short as noon. This is a big deal. Truckers pull their cord, and we shimmer with joy in the whip of the wind and the winter sand that follow them, and the blare, which is our own reward. The cardboard buckles and the pickets bend as though gravity went that way. Drivers of pickups give us thumbs up, finger up, Less follows them. We wave and tilt our signs toward everything that passes. My neighbor's placard says, "Elect peace." It's left over from November. Beneath the "Elect peace" sign, I know, it says, "Homemade cupcakes, $1." Her grandson's slogan from some long-forgotten fundraiser. And we do know that cupcakes would be quicker, but we want the harder, further piece, the bitter one. So much sweeter when it comes. Our signs remind the world. Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Ilis in Gaza. Endless. The sign we like best says, "Peace takes courage." One guy called us fucking cowards. Another, slow to a crawl, rolled down his window and screamed simply, "War!" Glad to hear it if that's what it is. Between cars, we can talk. Between talk, we can hear the river running one way beyond the road. The truth is that we are at war. And the truth is that we know peace at moments and in places. Peace like a riverbank beside the self. Fall and spring in the hill towns and the desert, the stars are burning to death. Leaders, beware your thirst. Followers, why go first? Because we want to make the outside like the inside, the act like the actor, the motion like the emotion. We want to make the world like what made the world. War picks us off. Peace keeps us coming back. We are here. We will be back. Oh yes, the lion does lie down, and the lamb, each by each. It is those still standing we need to reach. Can I get a witness? Can I get a sign? Tim Waldman, can I get a sign, brother?
It's in guns, and what,
With its hand.
swing it around again.
35,000 gun deaths a year.
On the porch, it's now about 42,000.
Yes,
Really?
Yeah.
show the other side too.
Kids are great.
Yeah.
Kids greater than guns.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, thank you for your indulgence. And thank you, brothers and sisters.